Blue team, come forward.
They had arranged a search party. My gosh, there was thousands of people there.
For something like this is looking for a clue that says she was here.
Sniffer dog Cody is assisting with the search for 10-year-old Heather Thomas.
If anyone knows where she is, can you please get her to come home? I just want her to come home.
We don't have anybody that saw what happened, which is very odd to have somebody in a fairly busy area on a Sunday afternoon, daytime hours, to just go missing like that.
Let's split up 3 and 3, then we'll try.
People start hearing things. Something's been found. There's a large police presence in the park.
That was the day that really everything changed, completely for the worst.
Welcome to Crime Beat. I'm Anthony Robart. On tonight's episode, it was a typical Sunday afternoon with kids playing outside in a seemingly safe neighborhood in BC's Fraser Valley until a 10-year-old child goes missing. Now, this sparks a massive search with hundreds of volunteers scouring the area in hopes of finding Heather Thomas alive. Here now is Jules Knox with Wish I Could Hold You.
The Cloverdale neighborhood is the historic heart of Surrey, British Columbia, one of Canada's fastest growing cities. Its small-town charm draws in young families. Behind busy streets, kids play in the safety of their homes, like this condo complex on 60th Avenue, known as Clover Park Gardens.
Sunday afternoon is extremely busy. Across the street on 60th Avenue was the Cloverdale racetrack, and they would have a flea market in the open parking lots. Probably 150 stalls or so of people selling their wares, so there was a fair amount of traffic in the area.
But across the street, the green grounds of Clover Park Gardens felt tucked away from traffic. And on this mid-fall afternoon of October 1st, 2000, the yard was full of children's laughter until it wasn't.
Heather and her brother Chris were playing. They were scheduled to go back to Mom Jody in Newton at around 5:30 that day.
10-year-old Heather Thomas and her little brother Chris had been visiting their dad for the weekend.
So around 4:30, both kids went out to play in the complex. Heather had already packed her knapsack and had left it by the door ready to go. Around 5, Chris came home and said he couldn't find his sister.
They looked, obviously tried to find her at that point, and then realized that Heather was nowhere to be found.
And it's getting closer to 5:30 now, so Dad goes out and he immediately starts talking to other kids in the neighborhood if they'd seen her. Talked to one kid that said Heather had borrowed his bike.
Her father reported her missing, and that was the Sunday afternoon. Police were there quickly.
Police arrived and they searched the complex. Other neighbors were searching.
I got a phone call from my ex-husband asking if Heather would ever run away. And I said no. And then the phone got handed over to a police officer and was asking me things about Heather. Then I had to sit at home and wait, which was hours. I was going out of my mind.
She went playing with another group of kids, and that was it.
They were racing around the complex, seeing how fast they can go. And then when it was her turn, she just vanished.
Yeah.
She took a long time, and then she didn't come back.
Her dad, Pat, went out to look for her. He didn't find her. He did find the bicycle that she had been riding, and that was located a short distance away from the building.
The report at the time was that when they found the bike, the wheel was still spinning on the bike, so she hadn't been off the bike very long.
The kids in the neighborhood were playing a game where they would take the bicycle and see who could get around the complex fastest. It was Heather's turn, and they had found the bicycle just outside, laying on the ground.
The bike has been tested forensically, and there's nothing that we can use on the bike.
And then, of course, there's massive speculation. Did she wander across the street to the flea market and somebody took her there? Or did she wander down over to Highway 176, which is the big access to the States?
I don't know if you're aware, we're missing a little girl in the area.
They did go door to door to every single person in the complex.
Hi, sir. My name is Constable Menard.
They did put up a roadblock going in and out of the complex, so they were searching people's vehicles.
By now, the police had also summoned extra cars and officers. I would say a good 50 to 100 people were out already looking for her.
Heather, we're search and rescue. We're here to help.
Of course, darkness had fallen, and so people were slowly straggling back to their homes, but nobody had found or seen or talked to Heather during this time. There was sort of a despair.
For hours, I would wait for that phone to ring. Everything was out of my hands. I had no idea what had happened to her. I didn't know if she was alive. I didn't know if she was dead.
They had searched Dad's house in case she'd been hiding in there. They'd searched his truck. They were having difficulties reading Dad, and that's the only way I could sort of put it, because he didn't seem to be reacting in what they considered a normal way. There's always the perception that you're overwrought and tearful and raging, and he wasn't. He was extremely calm, and he was extremely straightforward.
You ever think, though, that anyone in your complex was potentially dangerous?
No, never. I mean, there's a lot of kids that live in there, so, I mean, this is just a freak thing. Just totally, I mean, that's why I moved to Cloverdale. I thought this would be a nice place to live, you know, quiet town.
I got a page actually around 10:30 at night. The reason we were called is they asked us if we would come in. They were suspicious, and they wanted us to interview Dad.
Welcome back. After Heather Thomas vanished while riding her bike, investigators began an intense search for the missing 10-year-old and for potential suspects in her disappearance. We return now to Jules Knox and Wish I Could Hold You.
When Heather Thomas didn't return home, investigators started searching both for the missing 10-year-old and for potential suspects in her disappearance.
We went and talked to Dad at the house. I think it was 12:30, 1:45 before we took him back to our office and did a formal interview of him there.
You look at everybody, and particularly you look at family. I understand at the time the family was fragmented. So you start looking at those circumstances and how could that possibly fit into the disappearance of the child.
Is Heather Thomas's dad your first suspect?
He's always a suspect. Dad is always a suspect. Dad, Mom, close relatives are always at the top of the list. In talking to Dad at great length and going over various things, he had voluntarily let us search the house. He had voluntarily let us search his car.
Pat Thomas denied any involvement in Heather's disappearance. Detectives released him and he returned home. He later joined the search for his missing daughter.
The next day, people, without the call for assistance, they were just showing up. The public were showing up, and they were showing up with their dogs in tow, with their hiking boots on and a walking stick, and they were prepared to search.
Anyone in this world would want to come out and try and find something. I can't imagine for anything in the world what it must feel like.
I was truly shocked to see how many people really cared. They had arranged a search party. My gosh, there was thousands of people there.
Blue team, come forward.
I kept hearing all night how many people were going to be here, but this is absolutely wonderful. I mean, I don't think there's enough good people out there, but I mean, they're all here.
for something like this is mostly it's evidence, looking for a clue that says that she was here.
Sniffer dog Cody hangs off the end of an inflatable boat. Able to detect the scent of bodies underwater, Cody is assisting with the search for 10-year-old Heather Thomas. Dive teams comb ditches and other waterways in Cloverdale, hoping to find any evidence that will lead them to the little girl.
I remember around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon she waved to me. I went out across the street to the flea market. She was just around here, and she waved to me.
Search and rescue, as well as the RCMP and other agencies in the community, spent most of the night searching for Heather, and so far we haven't located her.
If anyone knows where she is, can you please get her to come home? Phone someone.
She knows not to talk to strangers.
I've always told her we sit down once a week. I always let her know not to do that. I just want her to come home.
We had 10 search and rescue teams from everywhere from Washington State to the North Shore of the Okanagan.
Heather and her brother were at their dad's for the weekend, and their mom, Jody Aspen, said the last time she saw her daughter was like any other.
I hugged her, told her I loved her. They got in his truck, and she had turned around and waved. She was gorgeous, extremely caring, and she loved animals. She loved her brother. It was her best friend. She loved playing with her stuffed animals, her Polly Pockets, and if you ever went in her room and moved anything, she would know. Everything had a place, and you don't touch her stuff.
This home video shows Heather at age 6, the blonde wig part of her Halloween costume. Today her bedroom is full of gifts, which her mother says will be kept for Heather until she returns home.
We never believed for a minute that she had run away. She wasn't that kind of a child. She was a rule follower.
Honestly, I was really hopeful that someone just took her because they missed their own daughter. I know that sounds stupid. And I thought I'd get her back.
We went to elementary school together. That's me and her and my sister, and we have a cake in the middle of us that we won at our school fun night. She was very sweet, innocent, kind. She had her own style with her necklaces. We used to write each other notes in our diaries and then trade them. The day after she went missing, it was a school day, and I remember the teachers talking to us about it. I was pretty sheltered as a child, like I didn't know bad things like this could happen to people, especially children. I mean, initially I just thought she was gonna come back.
Let's split up 3 and 3, then we'll talk.
We don't have anybody that saw what happened, which is very odd to have somebody in a fairly busy area on a Sunday afternoon, daytime hours, to just go missing like that.
Obviously, people that are sex offenders have recently been released from incarceration. You start looking at those right off the bat.
I first run through it all. I think there was over 500 sex offenders in the Surrey area. So that's when we started narrowing it down.
Who's your prime suspect at this point?
We don't have one.
That is what's been bizarre. It really has almost been like this deafening silence around here. There's usually kids playing. There's been nobody. Gorgeous days, there's nobody.
We usually walk home together and everything. We don't go anywhere alone. Yeah. It's sad. Yeah. You just, maybe it could be you. Yeah, it could be you next. Yeah.
There was a fence in Cloverdale with the flowers and the teddy bears and the notes of hope
A lot of people brought flowers and put up pictures. I remember someone had put up a picture of Heather and I told my mom, I want you to take that down because I was scared that whoever had taken her would come after me too.
Today, Heather's father, Pat, joins in the aerial search, riding along in the RCMP's Air 1 helicopter.
All this area we've covered, power lines all through here. We searched with the helicopter all the way up to the river system, up going north here.
Can you describe your daughter?
Last time I did that, I got upset. I don't know. I don't want to do that again. She's just a sweet girl. I mean, I just want her back. If somebody else out there has her, I mean, send her home.
In my heart, I know she's alive. Pat feels the same way. We know she's okay, but you know, it's been a week now, and you know, she should be at home.
Finally, after 11 days, police have something real to search for. A vehicle similar to this one was seen in the area where Heather Thomas disappeared, spotted in a no parking zone.
We're providing a picture of a similar type vehicle. It's an older model vehicle, late 70s, possibly early 80s, an American type vehicle.
Tips continued to roll in as the days since Heather's disappearance ticked by.
I think by 3 weeks in, we probably had 5,000 tips and at least 70 psychics that were calling in and telling us where she was.
We had had quite a few people, different psychics, different people that had reached out, including a close friend of mine, that said she was going to be found in the water.
It was a Sunday. Of course, we had been working basically 20-hour days for a while, so we were pretty tired. And we got a call, I think it was around 3 in the afternoon, and they said, you better come back to the office.
3 weeks later, and you just heard it. Again, tips. You know, people start hearing things, something's been found. There's a large police presence in the park.
Just after 2:30 this afternoon, a male walking along the shore of Alouette Lake in Golden Ears Park noticed a body floating face down in the water and notified the Ridge Meadows RCMP. We now have major crimes investigators on scene as well as forensic identification. At this time, there has been no confirmation as to age, sex, or identity. The investigation is in its infancy.
They had found a body floating in Alouette Lake in Golden Ears Park. Their initial report sounded like the clothing description Heather had at the time. She had a sweater on. She was naked from the waist down. I mean, she was floating face down. We couldn't tell for sure it was Heather because of the decomposition, which also led us to believe that she'd been in the water for quite some time. And the water was extremely clear at that time, and under the water was also a Windwell hockey bag. When we pulled the bag out, there was a couple of large boulders that had been put in the bag to weigh it down. We believe she had floated free of the bag at some point in this process.
All I was really told at the time, because obviously I was hysterical as well, was that some hikers had walked by in Alouette Lake and had found a body floating. And they were going to confirm that it was Heather. I cried so hard, I collapsed. Of course, my mind is, why would she be so far away? Like, I wanted to know how my little girl got there. The worst nightmare that anyone has to wake up to.
The body was taken to Royal Columbian Hospital in New Westminster, where an autopsy failed to reveal an identity. A forensic dentist is now doing a more in-depth autopsy at Vancouver General Hospital.
I remember when they announced that they found a body, and I think everyone knew, like, it was her, but they hadn't confirmed it. And they were going to have a news conference, the RCMP, the next morning. So I got up earlier than everyone in the house and went downstairs and watched it.
The autopsy on the body located in Alouette Lake yesterday has been completed. Through dental examination, the identification of the body has been positively identified as Heather Thomas of Surrey, British Columbia.
I just remember feeling numb. I had already put up a wall at that point. You know, I had a lot of survivor's guilt.
That was the day that really everything changed completely for the worst. It had been bad up until then, but now it was a living nightmare because our search was over.
The first thing I had to do was tell my son. That was really hard. I sat him down and I said, you know, Heather's been gone for a while. Yeah. Well, it turns out a very bad person took her. And he goes, okay. I said, she's never coming back, buddy. He's like, what do you mean? I said, she's dead, hun. She's never coming back.
And I can tell you that we'll obviously be looking at whatever forensic methods that we can use to help uncover the suspect in this case.
DNA gets destroyed basically by water, so we weren't expecting to find DNA on Heather. What we were able to do, and it was sort of novel, I had never done it before, but we were actually looking what else we found in the hockey bag, and we found some branches and bush. We ended up getting hold of a botanist in UBC, and he came in and we were able to tie the bush that was found in the bag to it was a juniper berry, a cultured juniper berry, and we were able to find that bush outside the complex of Heather's. So that tied the bag to the complex.
Were you surprised that Heather's body was found where it was?
Yes, I was. I thought it was far more distant than I thought it would be. As the crow flies, it's about 20 kilometers. As you had to drive, though, in those days, you had to go across on a ferry, or you had to drive around through Coquitlam, and I think it was 40 some odd kilometers in total. It was a huge break for us. The finding of Heather allowed us to focus on what could the possible connection be, or who could possibly be connected to both places.
For 3 weeks, it was the Fence of Hope. Now it is a makeshift memorial for murdered 10-year-old Heather Thomas, who was last seen riding a bicycle only meters away.
I am very scared and sad about this. I am 10 years old and it could have been me.
It was the hardest thing I've ever witnessed. It was devastating, and it was also so very, very maddening.
There was a dispatcher sitting at home watching the news that night as it broke of Heather's being found. As a dispatcher, one of the areas that she controlled was the Alouette Lake, Golden Ears Park area, and she started racking her brain. Did we have any calls back then? It wasn't the day that Heather disappeared, but the day after. She thought she had got a call about a suspicious vehicle in Golden Ears Park. They discovered that the vehicle had not only been seen once, it had been seen like 3 or 4 times during this early morning of the 2nd of October, so a day after Heather went missing.
There's hardly anybody in there at that time of the morning, and in particular a lowrider type young kid's car. Yeah, we checked those things out.
They saw it as they were going to work in the park early in the morning, so like 6 or 7 in the morning. They described the vehicle as a big sort of boat-like vehicle, old school style.
The description appeared to be similar to the vehicle that police were already looking for, the one that had been parked suspiciously in Heather's complex.
We then learned that another employee had seen the car too, parked on the side of the road, and the hood was up. And then a third employee saw the vehicle again quite some time later, parked at the boat ramp. They dig through and find the logbook. In the corner, written at an angle, it was a license plate number. And the license number was DRE 666, which if you're into Satan at all is a significant number.
Welcome back. After the body of 10-year-old Heather Thomas is found in a wilderness park, investigators get a break in the case. Park employees recall a suspicious vehicle seen in the area around the time she disappeared. We return now to Jules Knox with Wish I Could Hold You.
We then had a plate number for this vehicle. So that got us off and running. We ran the plate, obviously. It came back to a Vernon address, came back to a Shane Ertmode. On the 2nd of October, he had renewed his driver's license, and his new driver's license showed the address of the complex in Cloverdale.
That's a huge break.
Yeah, it's huge, yeah.
Had Shane Ertmode already been interviewed by police?
Yes, in our neighborhood inquiries where we had actually knocking on every door, we had actually talked to Shane Ertmode at that time. I think he had indicated he'd been at the movies. No criminal record. So what we had was suspiciously driving in Golden Ears Park on the day after, and we had him living in the complex. Yeah, he's a good suspect, but we have no evidence.
As homicide detectives started investigating Shane Ertmode, they reviewed his file and saw that he'd reported a break-in at his condo the day after Heather disappeared.
The thing that we took from it, I interviewed the ident officer at the time. He couldn't find anything inside in terms of forensics, but he did find a pile of clothes sort of dumped in the middle of the living room that hadn't been moved.
Perhaps the contents of a hockey bag that was emptied to carry a body. Police didn't know, and Shane Ertmode wasn't a suspect when officers had responded to that break-in 3 weeks prior.
Why do you think Shane Ertmode called in that break and enter?
My guess is he was worried about Heather's fingerprints being found in his apartment. There's a big push, we'll just go arrest him. We can't, we've got nothing. If he doesn't tell us anything, we're done. We had to put Shane under 24-hour surveillance. We could probably do it for 2 weeks with the resources we had. We ended up getting what we call general warrants, which allowed us to surreptitiously enter into his condo. So we were able to dress up 3 or 4 forensic guys looking like construction workers, and we were able to go into his apartment. Inside a desk drawer, he had all his receipts. But over to the side, he had 2 receipts that were sort of separate from the rest. And they were both for October 1st. One was for the Happy Face gas station, and the other was for the Colossus movie theater. So that struck us like, why has he got these separate?
Police knew from their surveillance that Shane Ertmode was into cars. In fact, he'd done this interview with CHBC News in 1998, 2 years before Heather was murdered.
Don't be afraid to cover your ears.
At the time, Ertmode was living in Vernon and speaking out against the city's new bylaw targeting car stereos and loud music.
Feels good, you know, like you can feel it all over your body, and your body shakes, and people like music, and so it's a good way to relax. Yeah, these are 2 12-inch subwoofers. They're powered by the big amplifier right there.
Shane Ertmode now had a different car, a 1971 Chevy Impala. Police had it towed from the complex, and they watched as their murder suspect then reported his vehicle as stolen.
We wanted to look inside his car, and we wanted to do it without him suspecting. When we got in the forensic bay and we popped up the trunk, it was full of hydraulics. There's no way he could have fit her in here.
But detectives remembered that the park ranger had seen the hood up.
So we popped open the hood, There was a marking that seemed to fit the size of the hockey bag, like a scraping inside the thing. And we proved you could fit somebody in there.
An estimated 1,500 people poured into the Valley View Funeral Home in Surrey. Adults, children, classmates, and family. They came to pay their last respects to murdered 10-year-old Heather Thomas.
I had a letter that was written that I wanted to have read out, and one of the pastors read the letter for me.
My dearest Heather, from the moment I knew I was pregnant with you, I knew I had been blessed with a very special gift. Your precious life was taken from us, and we will never be able to watch you grow up. Anyone who was blessed with knowing you has been touched by a real angel.
And then when we were taking Heather down to where we laid her to rest, everybody outside, all the way, everyone outside had lined the road all the way down to where I laid her to rest. It was incredible.
On November 3rd, 2000, a month after Heather Thomas was abducted and murdered, police moved in on Shane Ertmode.
Hey, Shane Ertmode, step out of the vehicle, please, and with the RCMP. Right now, I'm arresting you for, and you will be charged with the murder of Heather Lynn Aspen, aka Heather Lynn Thomas, on or about the first day of October 2000, at or near the city of Surrey, British Columbia. Do you want to call a lawyer?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is this a joke?
Fun.
This is a joke, man. This is not very funny. Assuming that I'm under arrest.
Not Shane, no. Yeah. No. I've known him and seen him grow up. No, it can't be. It can't be.
As far as I'm concerned, he seemed like just a regular kid next door.
Word of Shane's arrest has spread throughout the neighborhood, and everyone says they're completely shocked. He used to work on his car, and when he'd drive by the neighbors, he'd wave at everyone.
It's scary, you know, because he doesn't fit any sort of a picture like that.
Shane, this investigation is over. Look at me. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you caused the death of Heather Thomas, okay? Now, having said that, I'm still the guy that wants to hear the truth.
And it was about 3.5 hours in, that Shane confessed.
Had you planned this out in advance, or was it just like it just happened? It just happened? I'm glad you told me that, Shane. I'm so proud of you right now. I'm so proud of you. It's okay. Did you feel bad after? Yeah?
Suicidal?
You felt suicidal?
Heather was lured to his apartment to talk about birds. Heather loved animals. Heather was trusting, she was kind.
She came into my place.
Yeah.
And started talking. And before I knew it, it was over, it was done.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I panicked.
He enticed her in with the bird story. He got her on the floor.
Did you just want to get close to her and hold her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't let me.
She wouldn't let you?
No.
Okay. And then what happened?
It's like panicked.
You panicked?
Yeah.
You hit her? Did you hit her, Shane?
No, I didn't hit her.
What did you do? What did you do? It's okay.
Strangled her.
You strangled her? Did you use a rope or did you just use your hands? Your hands?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like rip at her, or was it just soft strangulation?
Soft.
Just soft strangulation?
Yeah.
He had pulled her pants and underwear off, was trying to rape her. He had covered her mouth.
Were you throwing her around violently, or were you just holding her?
Just holding her.
Okay. And then what happened?
Before I knew it, she was dead.
I didn't mean to hurt her at all. I don't mean to hurt anybody.
And then he methodically put her in a hockey bag, a sports bag, which to this day I cannot look at a sports bag without it triggering absolute horrific memories in my mind.
Where did you hide her when you went to get your alibi set up?
In my car.
He came out through an entrance where he ran into the juniper berries.
Pulled around to the back of the complex. She did have a burn mark on her body from being underneath the hood of the car, I was told.
He had to get rid of the body. So he was driving along and he decided to try and create an alibi. And there was a big theater, multiplex theater called Colossus in Langley. And he decided to drive in, buy a movie ticket.
One of the receipts found set aside during that secret search of Shane Ertmode's home was for a ticket to a showing of The Exorcist.
The Colossus is a reasonably new theater, it's very modern, and it had surveillance cameras. And they had evidence and video of him walking into the lobby of this large theater, buying a ticket in a machine, and walking out.
Then he went to Golden Ears and out to the park, and he put her in the bushes. He then drove back, spent the night, went out the next morning. He was convinced by this time that he had to move her, that she wasn't in a good spot.
The day after Heather disappeared, an officer checking license plates clocked Shane Ertmode leaving his condo complex at 5:30 in the morning. Police believed that Shane Ertmode went to Golden Ears Park to move the body, but ran out of time and rushed to work. A couple hours into his shift, he complained of a headache and left.
Went to, I think it was a Canadian Tire store, and bought an inflatable raft. Drove back. He takes her to the boat ramp, where he was seen again by the park staff. Puts her in the dinghy and paddles out into the middle of the lake and dumps her into the lake.
So Shane Ertmode had Heather's body out of the apartment complex, likely before anybody even knew she was missing.
Yeah, within 20 minutes of killing her, which would have happened within that hour.
Despite his lengthy confession, when Shane Ertmode's case went to court, he pleaded not guilty.
Welcome back. After an hours-long interrogation, Shane Ertmode confessed to killing Heather Thomas. But in court, he pleads not guilty. We return now to Jules Knox with a conclusion of Wish I Could Hold You.
Some of those first appearances at court were pretty crazy. A lot of protesters, a lot of people demanding changes in the justice system, capital punishment, take your pick. There were a lot of people standing outside that courtroom demanding justice.
Did Shane Ertmode take the stand?
Yes, he did, and he said he didn't do it.
All I know is he did confess to doing it on the tape. And that's what I'm going by.
I believe Shane is innocent, and so does the rest of his family. We'll know as the case progresses. This is the first opportunity that we've had to hear his side of the story.
The jury watched the interrogation video, although parts of it were held back.
Started to scream, but put my hand over her mouth and I guess over her throat. And she was dead.
The defense told the jury that the search warrant police had when going into Ertmode's apartment specified exactly what police were looking for: hair and fibers belonging to Heather Thomas, her fingerprints, any biological trace evidence that she was recently there. On all counts, police found nothing.
The Crown is suggesting that he's a brilliant character who managed to perfectly cleanse his car and sanitize his apartment, do everything correctly, but yes, I would be surprised that nothing would be found there had he done it.
The defense went on to paint a picture of an elaborate and highly sophisticated police operation aimed not at getting the truth, but at getting a confession.
He made a decision in a moment of panic. They knew that he would collapse under pressure.
I think that he should be found guilty, but that's not up to me. That's up to the judge and the jury.
It took the jury only 5 hours to find Shane Ertmode guilty of the first-degree murder of Heather Thomas. Upon hearing the verdict, he told the court, "I had the chance to tell the truth, and I did. Justice has not been served today. The only thing that happened here was a fundamental miscarriage of justice."
Automatic sentence is life and no chance of parole in a first-degree murder conviction for 25 years.
It's exactly what we wanted. It's exactly what he deserved. It's never going to bring my daughter back, but this is what he deserves. And I hope that she haunts him till the day he dies.
With the trial over, we can now tell you Ertmode admitted to having an unhealthy attraction to little girls, but it was never shown to the jury because it was ruled too prejudicial.
Not too long ago, I went to a mental health clinic in Vernon.
You told him that you were sexually attracted to young girls?
Yes.
And what did he tell you to do?
To masturbate. More and more and more.
Now, did he tell you to think about children when you were masturbating?
Yes.
Okay, and he thought that would help you get the urges out?
Yes.
And did that help?
No.
It's also come to light today that the police had a file on him. In the late 1990s, while Ertmode was caring for a friend's young children, he went into the kid's bedroom and lifted a 10-year-old girl out of bed and placed her on the floor. The girl later told police that Ertmode did push-ups on top of her. Ertmode was never charged with sexual assault, and his urges went unchecked.
I never for a moment thought that we would be subjected over and over to him constantly asking for rights that he did not deserve and still doesn't.
I mean, I never thought that there would be a possibility of parole ever. I just figured a life sentence meant that.
In 2021, Shane Ertmode was granted escorted temporary absences from prison for community service.
Every year, I write an impact statement saying why he should never be allowed out to do this again. You write it and you rewrite it. You have to relive it. She always had a smile for everyone. Her eyes are so bright. This is what she felt were her biggest treasures.
Shane Ertmode applied for day parole, and in January of 2025, Heather's mom, Jody, attended the hearing. For the first time since his trial, she came face to face with her daughter's killer.
This is the first time I got to read my impact statement so he would see me. And I really felt that was very important. I think he finally, for once, heard me after 24 years. To actually hear him admit to all of us in the room, yes, I killed her. I needed that.
Shane Ertmode was denied day parole. He'll be eligible for full parole in November of 2025 when he's 47 years old.
I did this for my daughter. This is all for my daughter. We won this one and we're gonna keep fighting, baby. I love you. Wish I could hold you. Brother misses you. Do you have a nephew? Which you already know, I'm sure. I miss you so much. It's not fair. I was supposed to watch you grow up.
Heather Thomas is memorialized by 2 benches outside her elementary school, where her friends and family can sit and remember the 10-year-old whose life was taken far too soon. Thank you for joining us tonight on Crime Beat. I'm Anthony Robart. Want more episodes of Crime Beat? Listen to the Crime Beat podcast, now for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. And for past episodes of Crime Beat, go to the Global TV app, visit globaltv.com, or check out our Crime Beat YouTube page.